Hey everyone, buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into the world of Lancer RPG. It's a tabletop game that drops you right in the pilot seat of a mech for some seriously intense tactical combat. And trust me, the sci-fi universe they've built is anything but simple.
It's like if you mixed the strategic depth of BattleTech with the high-octane action of Titanfall, and then they layered in this really compelling storytelling element that keeps you totally hooked.
Oh, I'm already picturing myself strapped into that cockpit ready to roll. So we're going deep on this one, pulling from all sorts of Lancer marketing materials and gameplay stuff to really uncover what makes this game tick.
Yeah, get ready to explore what sets Lancer apart in the world of tabletop RPGs.
All right, let's set the stage here. Lancer takes us to a future where humanity, after some major catastrophe back on Earth, has spread out across the stars. We're talking new colonies, powerful corporations, different factions, all kind of wrestling for power out there. Sounds like the perfect recipe for some serious conflict, right?
Oh, absolutely, and that's where the mechs come in. But what's really cool about Lancer's setting is that it's not just some black and white good guys versus bad guys scenario, you know? The different factions all have their own agendas. Sometimes they clash, sometimes they cooperate. It makes the whole world feel super dynamic and realistic, like you never quite know who to trust.
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, I'm intrigued. But let's be real, the mechs are the main attraction in Lancer, right? I mean, who doesn't love giant robots? And we're not talking about just a handful of basic models. Lancer throws a whole array at you, from those nimble 9-foot scouts to these absolute behemoths that tower 45 feet tall.
Yeah, the variety in Lancer is incredible. It goes way beyond just size, too. You've got 5 major manufacturers in this universe, and each one has a totally distinct design philosophy, almost like choosing a car brand, you know? Some are all about reliability, others are luxury, some are pure speed. Well, it's the same with mechs and Lancer.
All right, let's break this down. We got General Massive Systems, GMS for short. What's their deal? What are they known for?
Ah, GMS. They're all about those workhorse mechs. Solid, dependable, easy to maintain. Perfect for beginners, really. Their iconic Everest mech is like the quintessential starter mech for most new pilots.
So if you're new to Lancer, you can't really go wrong starting with GMS, it sounds like. What about Interplanetary Shipping North Star, IPSN, is it?
Yep, IPSN. Now, they're known for their ridiculously durable mechs, super heavily armored. Imagine piloting a walking tank, just soaking up enemy fire. Their Raleigh mech is a perfect example.
Sounds tough.
If you want a mech that can take a beating and keep on coming, IPSN is the way to go.
Now we're talking. Okay, so GMS is the reliable one. IPSN's got the tough guys. What about the players who want to hit fast and disappear? You know, the speed demons.
For them, you got Smith Shimano Corporo, or SSC. Speed and cutting-edge tech, that's their game. Their mechs are designed for lightning-fast attacks, get in, do damage, get out.
Like the Ferraris of the mech world, huh?
Exactly. They might not be as tough as an IPSM mech, but they can outmaneuver pretty much anything on the battlefield.
All right, speed demons. You've got your manufacturer. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, I think, because I keep hearing about the insane levels of customization you have in Lancer.
Oh yeah, customization is where Lancer truly shines. We're talking thousands, literally thousands, of potential combinations when it comes to weapons, systems, abilities. You're not just picking a mech off the shelf, you're crafting a unique war machine that reflects your playstyle.
So if I want to be a close-quarters brawler, I can build a mech for that. But if I want to be a long-range sniper, I can do that too.
Precisely. You want to be a hacker disrupting enemy systems from afar, Lancer gives you the tools to do it.
I'm already getting ideas.
Wow.
Okay, so we've got these awesome customized mechs, but how does the combat actually play out in Lancer? Is it just mindless blasting away?
Not even close. Lancer uses a grid-based battlefield, almost like a futuristic chessboard, you could say.
Yeah.
It's all about strategic positioning, using cover, managing your resources carefully. You have to think about heat building up from your weapons, the stress on your pilot, even your limited actions per turn. Every decision matters.
So it's not just about unleashing a barrage of attacks. You have to be tactical, think about your resources, make smart choices.
Exactly. And to make it even more dynamic, there's this thing called the popcorn initiative system. Imagine actions happening in a randomized order, not just back and forth turns, keeps everyone engaged.
Oh, wow, that sounds intense. But I've heard there's still a lot of tactical depth, even for players who are just starting out.
Absolutely. You've got options for hacking, melee combat, ranged engagements, even using special ordnance, all at lower levels. Lancer rewards strategic thinking, creative use of your abilities.
This is already sounding incredible. Giant robots, deep customization, tactical combat. But what about the story? Lancer isn't just about crunching numbers and blowing things up, is it?
Definitely not. There's this rich narrative layer woven right into the mechanics of the game. Character creation goes beyond just stats. You flesh out your pilot with the background, these personal triggers that shape their personality, and unique skills that can influence how the story unfolds.
So you're not just building a powerful mech, you're creating a character with a past, with motivations, maybe even some baggage.
Yeah, it's about making a character who feels real in this complex world.
I like that. Okay, but how does my character actually progress in the game? How do I level up?
So as you gain experience, your pilot will level up through this license level system, and it's not just about getting numerically stronger. Each level unlocks new options for you, both in terms of mechs and gear you can access, and even narrative choices you can make.
So as I level up, I might get access to a whole new faction or a different type of mission. That sounds like it could really change the direction of my campaign.
It absolutely can. It really makes leveling up feel significant when it's tied into the story like that.
I can see that. So tell me more about how Lancer blends the narrative with these thrilling mech battles.
Well, Lancer uses this really clever mission-based structure that weaves the story and the action together seamlessly. You might be infiltrating a secure facility one moment and then find yourself in this white-knuckle mech battle the next. It keeps things dynamic, exciting, and makes you feel like you're part of a living, breathing world.
So it's not just about jumping from one battle to the next. There's this overarching narrative. And the choices I make as a player can actually influence how the story goes.
Exactly. It's a really satisfying blend of strategy and storytelling, I think.
I'm really digging that. And I'm sure the listeners are too. Okay, we've got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be diving deeper into some of those incredible mechs. Stick with us.
Lancer uses this really clever mission-based structure that weaves the story and the action together seamlessly. You might be infiltrating a secure facility one moment and then find yourself in this white-knuckle mech battle the next. It keeps things dynamic, exciting, and makes you feel like you're part of a living, breathing world.
So it's not just about jumping from one battle to the next. There's this overarching narrative. And the choices I make as a player can actually influence how the story goes.
Exactly. It's a really satisfying blend of strategy and storytelling, I think.
I'm really digging that. And I'm sure the listeners are too. Okay, so we've talked a bit about the manufacturers, but let's get into some of the specific mechs you might encounter in Lancer.
Yeah, let's do it.
We were talking about those beginner-friendly General Massive Systems mechs earlier. You mentioned the Everest, kind of the classic starter mech, right? What makes it so special?
The Everest is all about versatility. It's a really solid foundation that you can customize to fit different roles as you level up and unlock new options. Almost like a blank canvas, you can build it up to be a brawler, a sniper, a support mech, whatever fits your playstyle.
So even if you start with a basic Everest, you can mold it into something really specialized as you progress. Yeah, that's pretty cool. What about the Raleigh from IPSN? That was the one you said was a real tank, right?
Oh, the Raleigh is a beast. It's got incredible durability thanks to its reinforced frame core bonus, which is a big deal in Lancer. If you prefer a more defensive play style, maybe soaking up enemy fire while your allies flank and do their thing, IPSN is the manufacturer for you. They're all about mechs that can take punishment and keep going.
Now I'm picturing myself in that Raleigh, just absorbing damage while my teammates dish it out.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. But what if I'm more of a speed and agility kind of player?
Then you might want to look at Smith Shimano Corpro SSC, masters of those hit-and-run tactics. Their mechs are built for speed and maneuverability.
So if I want to be that lightning fast, in-and-out fighter, SSC is the way to go.
You got it. They often excel in what Lancer players call the striker role. Exploit enemy weaknesses, deal damage quickly, and then get out before they can retaliate.
Sounds like my kind of playstyle. Okay, but what about those manufacturers who are pushing the boundaries, with more experimental tech? You mentioned Horus, right?
Oh yeah, Horus. Their mechs are known for being super advanced, sometimes even a little unpredictable. High risk, high reward kind of stuff. They can really turn the tide of battle in unexpected ways.
So for those players who like to experiment, take risks, maybe try out some crazy cutting-edge tech, Horus is for them.
Exactly. If that's your style, definitely check out Horus.
And then we've got Harrison Armory. Those were the makers of those heavy-hitting mechs you mentioned. What sets them apart?
Harrison Armory is all about overwhelming force. Their mechs are designed to dominate the battlefield, heavy armor, long-range weapons, really control the flow of combat.
So if you want to dictate the terms of engagement and make your opponents react to you, Harrison Armory is the way to go.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how each manufacturer has such a distinct personality.
Right, and it really comes through in their mech designs.
This is just scratching the surface, of course. There were so many other incredible mechs to discover in Lancer.
Each with their own strengths, weaknesses, tactical possibilities.
And then there's the customization, which we've touched on.
Oh yeah, we haven't even gotten into the real nitty-gritty of that yet.
We're not just talking about swapping out a weapon here or there.
Yeah.
This is deeper than that.
Way deeper. Lancer's customization system is incredibly in-depth. You can fine-tune your mech's performance to an insane degree, change its core systems, its power source, the specific weapons it upgrades.
It's like building your dream car, but instead of a car, it's a giant, heavily armed robot.
Exactly. And it's a system that rewards creativity and strategic thinking. You might start with a basic mech frame, but through careful customization and upgrades, you can turn it into a highly specialized war machine, one that perfectly embodies your vision.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk about the combat system itself.
Yeah.
We've mentioned the grid-based maps and the popcorn initiative system, but there's got to be more to it than that, right?
Oh, there's a lot more going on.
Fill us in.
Lancer's combat is really dynamic and engaging, and it emphasizes action economy and resource management. Every action you take has a cost, whether it's heat buildup from firing your weapons, stress accumulating on your pilot, even just the limited number of actions you can take in a turn. You can't just go all out all the time. You have to think carefully about how you spend your resources and choose your moments.
So it's a balancing act,
Yeah.
weighing the risk versus the reward with every decision. I can see how that would lead to some really tense and exciting battles.
Exactly. And then you've got the popcorn initiative system adding another layer of unpredictability. Since actions are resolved based on a randomized order, you always have to be ready, anticipating what your opponent might do, adapting your plans on the fly.
Oh man, I can imagine. Your mech's pinned down, enemy fire's coming in hot, you're sweating in the cockpit, your heat gauge is spiking. Do you take the risky shot?
You really feel the pressure in those moments. That's what makes Lancer's combat so engaging. It's not just about following a set plan, it's about reacting to the situation and making decisions that could win or lose the battle.
And I imagine there are tons of tactical options to consider, beyond just moving and shooting.
Absolutely. You've got movement, attacks, defensive maneuvers, special abilities, even environmental interactions that you can use to your advantage. For example, you could use your mech's movement to trigger a rock slide, block off an enemy advance, or hack into an enemy turret, turn it against its own allies.
Wow, the possibilities seem endless. But Lancer doesn't just throw everything at you at once, does it? That could be overwhelming, especially for new players.
No, it's actually very well paced. The game introduces these concepts gradually. You start with a basic set of actions and abilities, and as you gain experience, you unlock more complex and specialized options.
So it rewards both mastery and experimentation.
Exactly. You can really dig deep into the mechanics if you want to, find those clever combos and synergies, or you can just jump in, have fun experimenting, see what works for you.
So even for a seasoned tabletop gamer, there's still plenty of challenge and depth to discover.
For sure. And the best part is it doesn't matter if you're a hardcore strategist or if you're more into role-playing and storytelling. Lancer has something for everyone.
I'm really hearing that. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk more about the narrative side of Lancer. We've talked character creation, the license level system, but how does Lancer bring those narrative elements to life? What's the actual storytelling like?
One of the things I love about Lancer is that it doesn't force you down a specific narrative path. It gives you this rich, detailed setting, but it's up to you, the players and the game master, to shape the story.
So it's more about providing a framework for storytelling rather than dictating a specific plot.
Exactly. Lancer gives you the tools and the inspiration, but you tell the story you want to tell. This approach encourages creativity, player agency. It makes each Lancer campaign feel unique and personal. You could have one group of players focused on corporate espionage, another group leading a rebellion against an oppressive government, and yet another group exploring uncharted regions of space, all within the same basic setting.
That's really cool. The possibilities are pretty much endless. But how do the game mechanics actually support that kind of narrative flexibility?
Well, for example, there's the trigger system we mentioned earlier. It adds a lot of psychological depth to character development. These triggers represent past traumas, personal beliefs, defining moments that shape how a character sees the world and how they act.
So it's not just about what my character can do, it's about why they do the things they do. Their motivations, their fears, their hopes, and how all of that plays out in the story.
Exactly. And these triggers can actually come into play during the game, influencing a character's decisions, maybe leading to some unexpected outcomes.
It's a really clever way to tie character development into the mechanics.
It really is.
And then there's the license level system. It's not just about gaining power and unlocking new gear, it's about connecting character progression to the narrative itself.
Right. As your character levels up, the new options they unlock are often tied to specific milestones or achievements within the story. Maybe you've earned the trust of a powerful faction, or you've uncovered a dangerous secret that changes everything. It makes leveling up feel much more meaningful when it's directly related to the story like that.
So instead of just grinding for experience points, you're earning your advancement through your actions, your contributions to the story.
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, what about the missions themselves? What kind of variety can players expect in a typical Lancer campaign?
Well, the missions in Lancer are designed to offer a wide range of gameplay styles. You might have missions that focus on stealth, infiltration, reconnaissance, where you need to use your wits and the environment to avoid detection. Then you might have missions that are all-out assaults, where you're leading the charge against overwhelming odds. And of course, there are plenty of missions that feature those epic mech battles that Lancer is known for.
Sounds like there's something for everyone. What about those moments when you're not in the heat of battle? I've played some tabletop RPGs that get bogged down in rules for every little action outside of combat.
Lancer actually uses a really streamlined system for resolving non-combat actions. The focus is on player choices and collaborative storytelling rather than getting lost in a bunch of rules and calculations.
So it keeps the game leaving and lets you focus on the narrative and the characters.
Exactly.
So to sum it up, Lancer manages to blend tactical combat, deep customization, and engaging storytelling in a way that feels both natural and exciting.
It really does. And it's all thanks to the design, the way the mechanics work with the narrative elements. It's not just a tactical combat game with a story tacked on. It's a game where the narrative and the mechanics enhance each other, create this truly immersive experience.
I'm sold. This deep dive has definitely piqued my interest. But I got to ask, for the listener who's brand new to tabletop RPGs, will they be able to jump into Lancer without feeling completely lost? So for the listener who's brand new to tabletop RPGs, will they be able to jump into Lancer without feeling completely lost?
Oh, absolutely. I think Lancer might seem complex at first glance, with all the mechs and systems, but it's actually very approachable even for newcomers. The core rulebook, it's 431 pages, which sounds a bit intimidating, I know, but it's surprisingly well organized and easy to follow. It's got tons of helpful info, clear explanations, even pre-made characters and missions to get you started.
So even if I've never played a tabletop RPG before, I can still grab the rulebook and figure it out.
Yeah. Think of it like a guidebook, leading you step by step through creating your character, building your mech, and going on your first mission.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
What about the community? Are Lancer players welcoming to newbies?
Oh, the Lancer community is one of the most welcoming and supportive I've ever seen. There's a real desire to help new players learn and feel like they're part of something special.
That's always great to hear. It's more fun to share a hobby with others, and knowing there's a supportive community out there makes it less intimidating to try something new. You mentioned earlier that the game is both crunchy and accessible. What did you mean by that?
Crunchy is kind of a tabletop gamer term. It means a game with a lot of rules, intricate mechanics, and Lancer definitely falls into that category. It's got a lot of depth when it comes to mech customization, the tactical combat, character progression, but it's also surprisingly accessible because the mechanics are presented in a clear, logical way. You don't need to be a math whiz to understand and enjoy Lancer.
So I can really dive deep into the mechanics if I want to,
Yeah.
or I can focus more on the role-playing, the storytelling. It's up to me how I approach it.
Exactly. That's the beauty of Lancer. It really caters to different play styles. You can spend hours optimizing your mech builds, strategizing for combat, or you can just focus on the characters, their relationships, the story you're creating together.
It sounds like there's a lot of freedom in how you play.
There is. And either way, you're going to have a great time.
It's like the game is saying, hey, come on in, the water's fine. Whether you want to splash around in the shallow end or dive into the deep end, we've got something for you.
I love that. It really captures what Lancer's all about. It's a game that welcomes everyone, no matter your experience level.
Yeah, it's all about finding your own way to enjoy it. And that's something I really appreciate about Lancer.
That flexibility, that inclusiveness is what makes the Lancer community so special. It's a place where you can be yourself, geek out about giant robots, and tell amazing stories.
I'm feeling pretty inspired right now, I gotta say. This deep dive has really opened my eyes to what Lancer's all about.
Me too. It's a game that sparks your imagination, makes you want to explore that universe.
So for our listeners out there, if you're looking for a tabletop RPG that combines tactical combat, deep customization, and engaging storytelling, all in a sci-fi setting, Lancer RPG should be at the top of your list.
It's a game that challenges you to think strategically, roleplay creatively, immerse yourself in a world of giant robots, political intrigue. There's a lot to discover.
It's not just about playing a game, it's about building your own legend, both on the battlefield and in the Lancer universe.
The real question is, what kind of mech pilot will you create?
What unique blend of skills, weapons, tactics will define your legend?
Those are some questions worth thinking about. And if this deep dive has piqued your interest, we encourage you to explore Lancer further.
There's a ton of information out there, resources, communities ready to welcome you.
Until then, keep those imaginations firing, and may your dice rolls be ever in your favor.
And that wraps up our deep dive into Lancer RPG. Thanks for joining us on this journey. We'll catch you next time for another exciting exploration of...
Well, we'll just have to wait and see.